screen. There you go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon for our webinar, co-presented with GETIDA. We're very excited. We'll give everyone a little bit of time to log in, and we'll kick off in just a little bit.
Awesome. We'll make some small talk here as we as we wait for everybody to file in.
Yeah, this is exciting Friday. And on Friday after Black Friday. So, anybody have a hangover or anything?
No, actually, you know what? A rare day when I don't, maybe you could say. But you know, and hopefully, certainly, hopefully everyone's business does not have a hangover after Black Friday and Cyber Monday. But if so, I think we've got maybe some cures for that.
Yeah.
In our
hopefully
content.
everybody's drunk on sales. You know, that kind of kicks off the whole sales season, and it's good. It's a good hangover. You want to have that hangover, you know?
Right. All right. So hang on. I don't have, Mike, a view into the participant list. So
we're good. We've got there. People are still filtering in, so we could probably go ahead and get started. And we'll tape it as always and send it out afterwards.
Awesome. Well, I'm happy to make intros, Mike, unless you've got a very tight script that you've prepared.
Not, it's all you, Kanan. Take it away.
All right, guys. Well, welcome to Quartile and GETIDA's Jingles, Cheer, and Deals, Unwrap Profit this holiday season. So this is part of our playbook for Amazon profitability. I'm Kanan. I won't make you pronounce the last name, but I'll prove that I can. It's Schledels Inc. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at Quartile, and I'm joined by Yoni Mazur, co-founder and Chief Growth Officer at GETIDA. So welcome, Yoni.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here. Excited. Nice to do this with you, Kenan, and hi everybody. Thank you for your time.
Great. So just a quick overview of the agenda here and what we'll be getting into. So kind of a quick intro about Quartile and GETIDA from Yoni and myself. We're going to kind of talk about then, what we call the new Amazon economics, right? So what we've seen this year, what everybody's experiencing. We're going to give an overview of that and, let you know that you're not alone, right? These trends are happening across the marketplace. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what we can do, both in our kind of respective corners of the industry to help manage some of that stuff, what we've seen be successful and kind of overcoming some of the challenges of the marketplace this year, and then open everything up for a Q&A. So without further ado, let's get into it. So Quartile, a little bit about us. So we are at this point the largest global Amazon ads partner. That's not all we do. We do operate also in Walmart, Instacart, Google Search, and Shopify integrations, along with a couple of markets endemic to other geos like Mercado Libre, et cetera. So, our goal is really to help e-commerce sellers and brands optimize and scale their ad spend wherever they're operating. And of course, we cut our teeth in the Amazon marketplace, and even to this day, 8 out of every 10 sales from an e-com standpoint are starting in Amazon. And so that's, a lot of the focus of where we are today. And so just a few of our creds really quick. So this year, we'll help our customers hit about actually just over $10 billion in marketplace sales. We have about 3,500, actually it's closer to 4,000 now connected brands on our platform. And we manage over $1 billion in ad spend through those platforms. So quite a bit of scale, which for us, we're a machine learning platform. We leverage AI to optimize sales for peak conversions and efficiencies of spend. And so when you're leveraging machine learning and using AI, the size of your platform really does matter, right? Because we're talking about, the more customers that we serve, the more ASINs that we're managing spend for, the more data that we have to collect, and the faster through which we can analyze that data, learn from it, and direct optimizations best on that. So we talked about some of these numbers here, but that's us by the book. And again, we are data driven. We're a machine learning platform. So for us, it's a software and math that pushes the efficiency of sales. So we're not tied to any specific vertical, whether you're in CPG, food and beverage, consumer electronics, apparel, et cetera. We can help you optimize your spend, help you get more sales, and do it for less money. So that's us. And then I think we'll get into the GETIDA overview as we get into the second half of the deck. So let's talk a little bit about the marketplace economics, right? So why is Amazon getting more expensive? And what can you do about it, right? Great questions. So let's talk about kind of the business of Amazon and how that's evolved over the last few years, but I think we've all really most significantly felt the impact of those shifts in Amazon's business strategy this year, and maybe even more specifically over the last 6-7 months, right? So essentially, and this is certainly proven out in both Amazon's Q2 and Q3 earnings calls, right? There's been a significant shift in their business priorities from specifically being around retail sales to services and consulting layers on top that kind of exist around the actual marketplace, right? So shifting from pushing brand sales, and as you can see there, their GMV at this point, which is the metric of actual products sold in their marketplace, has actually now been flat for 2 quarters. But their growth in services, including advertising, logistics, other forms of fulfillment, et cetera, has ballooned into almost 50% quarter over quarter. So it's that is now kind of the more massive segment for growth when it comes to Amazon's e-com business, right? And so you guys will see this, as a seller or a brand in there. You're talking to more and more people at Amazon. There's more and more teams, mostly dedicated to supporting your scale in the marketplace, and then recruiting more and more brands into the marketplace, right? And of course, what that means is, more advertisers and more services being sold to those advertisers to bring more and more bulk into the marketplace means more competition and higher prices for the same inventory sets, across the ads marketplace, across fulfillment, logistics, et cetera. And so, of course, that means, from our corner of the market where we're really laser focused on advertising, it means a lot of increases, right? So average cost of sale in 2020 was across the board about 22%, right? And now in 2021, it's over 30% and climbing. Right. And, and to break that down a little bit, distill it into some specific numbers here, your average cost per click, June 2020 was 79 cents. And now June 2021, it's $1.20. And that's, that has also climbed incrementally since that data point was rolled out. And at the same time, unfortunately, conversion rate on the average has stayed pretty flat, right? So 12 to 13% conversion rates now means that, most everybody operating in the marketplace is paying more for the same product. So, there's been a lot of talk of inflation, right, in the U.S. economy lately. I mean, I think that, clearly there's been an inflation in the e-com marketplace advertising economy. And so then, of course, what that means, right, is that, if you're paying more to sell the same amount, so to speak, on a per unit basis, then your margins are severely in jeopardy unless you can figure some other things out of your business and make some hard decisions. And that's just in the Amazon marketplace, right? So let's talk about some of the external pressures that are going on here, right? Because of that kind of stop and start happening with the various COVID variants, and then of course labor shortages, et cetera, across the globe. Shipping costs are up almost 500% this year, And as you know, costs go up, and then even still there's interruptions for those. So even in areas where, cost control might be under control as a brand or a seller, you just can't physically get the products into market. They're sitting out off the coast of Long Beach, most famously, or in other areas. To compound that, right, a lot of the, particularly for, US sellers and for folks sourcing in China and other places, kind of the Trump era tariffs and import taxes are still in place, right? And so even though there's, severe supply constraints and increased in demand, they're still being taxed more heavily, from the, kind of from the previous era when supply chain issues weren't as severe. And then of course, again, with the stop and start with kind of COVID induced stress and anxiety, that stuff creeps into consumer behavior and seller behavior as well. So not to paint a super bleak picture, it's about the clouds are about to get about to part here as we tell you about some of the stuff that we're working on in Yoni as well. And so I want to get into a little bit about margin-based optimization, and we've been talking about this in market for a few months now. We rolled this out in mid Q3 in beta, and it is now in general release for us. And so this is something that we've been thinking about, culturally for us. A lot of our founders and C-suite and team members, in previous lives, previous parts of their career, were Amazon sellers themselves, or they worked at brands, or were connected to some of the aggregators. And so, we really do very, very intimately feel the pains and needs of the seller marketplace. And of course, margin, even before this era, was something that everybody, I think, was, should always be talking about. I think before, pre-COVID, and then maybe in some of those early days when, consumers were just flocking into the marketplaces, the margin issues weren't necessarily as critical as they are now, right? Because you just had such an influx of buyers. Competition was much lower at those points than it was now, to where, you had a lot of sellers that might not necessarily have to be as focused on protecting their margins and maximizing their margins, just because the volume was so high and the costs were, relative to where they are now, much lower. But as we discussed before, that's all changed, right? And so as we've been developing this product, really focusing on it, at the beginning of this year, so that we could roll it out this year, we've been mapping out how can we really make it easier for sellers and brands to, in real time, have a solid understanding and calculation of what their margin is as a business, and what it is down to the SKU level, and what they can do to help impact that, and what they shouldn't do to decrease that. Oh, sorry, I've got a little Outlook pop up there. Apologies.
That's a good reminder. Yeah, it's always a good reminder. Yeah.
Rookie move. Now you guys all know that my day is packed after this. I can't just jump off and have a cocktail after this webinar, unfortunately. But
good job. Keep it up.
So, so what we've developed now is the ability to optimize towards a specific margin target at the SKU level, at the portfolio level, or even, top line across an entire account. And how we've done that is, first we focus on where we can collect the various data points that go into that. And then how we kind of, how we report back on that in real time is, we all know that some costs are fixed and static, and some are variable by month, some by week, sometimes by day. Right. And so I'll walk kind of through what that looks like. Right. So, we all know what margin is. That's the profitability you take home. I think, ad spend is something that you can always control. Right. But a big, something that's important when we talk about margin-based targeting is, while you can control ad spend, not everybody knows. In fact, I think most people don't really always have a solid handle on what your ad spend should be. Right. And so that's why when we talk about margin-based targeting, a big aspect, big outcome of this feature is actually the ability to know how much exactly you should be spending on ads in order to maintain a specific margin target. We've got cost of goods shipped, right, which is, of course, you as a seller or a brand should know this quite intimately. You know, we're talking about your manufacturing and shipping costs to Amazon, you know, taxes and tariffs, everything like that that goes into your products kind of before they get to the warehouse, so to speak. The Amazon referral fee, which for the most part stays static, but does sometimes change. Your FBA, and of course, if you're fulfilling yourselves, FBM, so to speak, costs, which are directly proportionate to how much you sell, right? So these, of course, you know, your FBA costs go up the more you sell. So you have to keep that in mind. And then we have storage costs, right, which are the inverse of that, right? So storage costs go up the less you sell, which is the worst problem of all, right? And then we've got other fees like, you know, returns, exchanges, things that are, you know, critically important in Q4, gift wrapping, things like that that go into it as well. And so the really, really interesting thing here is that everything except for cost of goods shipped, we actually can pull via API from Amazon, and we get that data updated on an hourly basis, right? And so what that means is that for in order to calculate a specific margin, we really have an opportunity to do this in close to real time, as long as we get the cost of goods shipped information from a seller. And as of now, you know, this is kind of a manual process for us, but in the future, we're working on some additional features that will automate this, which is really exciting. And so what we have the ability to now do is isolate the margin as an optimization variable. And we'll talk a little bit more in detail about that a little bit later. But it means a few things, right? So one, you know, and this is where we always kind of start, is we'll be able to kind of tell for you in the first couple of weeks, like, what is your ideal margin? Like what is the margin that is going to work for you at scale? How does that margin change as you sell more units? Where does it, you know, where does it start growing? Where does it kind of plateau? And then where, if you're you know, potentially overspending in ads, where does it start to decline? So we'll be able to understand kind of what that target margin will look like and how it fluctuates, right, based on increasing or decreasing ad spend, right? And then how that also impacts your storage fees, right? As we're able to sell more, your storage fees go down, right? But then of course your FBA fees go up. So all of these things are in flux. And now we've built into our system an ability towards optimizing towards a specific margin and taking all of these other data points into effect, and informing you as a seller or a brand what's happening behind the scenes and what you need to do to protect your margins, or where you might start to want to think about a different margin, whether that's higher or lower based on top line sales and other costs involved, right? So, you know, a couple of different, you know, it helps you understand tactics. You know, we obviously kind of walk through all the importance of how this impacts forecasting, as you could see and kind of understand there, where you should, you know, where you might be comfortable increasing spend to run on a smaller margin for product launches, and then also, you know, truly understanding your economies of scale relative to your ad spend and your other fees associated with the Amazon marketplace. So I just want to walk through a couple quick examples here. When we talk about this. So, you know, just conceptually, right? You know, this is what it looks like. And we use just average data here, right? And this example here, and don't worry, I'm not going to make you guys look at a spreadsheet table for more than 2 or 3 minutes here, I promise. But you think about the average sale price for any given product across the board on Amazon is $25, right? And your referral fee, and this can be different, you know, obviously from category to category, but the average is 15%. Right, so we've got that marked out here. FBA fee, also that's an average of, you know, just under 23%. Cost of goods shipped, you know, we put in 30% here just because that's an average that we see in some of the data that we've been collecting. So we'll consider that there. And of course, I'm sure that every seller on the line does much better than that. But of course, you know, you're beating the average, and so be proud of yourself for that. Other fees generally are very small, right, about 4%, and then the average ad spend is 13.5%. So that leaves, on average, in terms of margin, about just under a 13% margin for any given product on Amazon. And what we've done here is just kind of done the same numbers here, but with a lower cost of goods shipped, just to give you an idea of how this works, right? And so we've built out like what this looks like then, and as an example of how we calculate these things on 100 unit sales forecast for ASIN number 1, which has kind of just all the average numbers in terms of costs and margin, and then a lower sales forecast for ASIN number 2, but this one obviously has a higher margin because there's a lower cost of goods shipped, and we'll show you how then that impacts how our recommendations work, right? So as you go through this, and I'm not going to go through all the numbers here, but when we get down to it, and this does actually factor in, right, the ad spend that you're currently at, right? So this is your average ad spend of 13.5% applied to 100 units of 100 units sold and $2,500 in take home, right? And so that leaves you here with a margin of 15%. And then from there, what we know is that you've got an additional $282 in ad budget that you should be spending based on all these margin control data points here, right? And then the same thing for a unit, unit that has a higher margin but lesser sales. I'm sorry, lower sales. You've actually got a higher margin here. So as a percentage of sales, you've got a higher amount of budget that we'd recommend you spending here that will give you a greater return from a margin perspective. So I know that's kind of really quickly going over visually how some of these calculations work and how it can impact you. But the point is, what we can do with this data now is not only just target to a specific margin, but we can give sellers and brands the data, and not just the data, but the insights that go along with that around what you should be spending to hit a target margin, or even taking a step back from that, what your actual target margin should be at scale. So we're really, really excited about rolling this feature out, and we've seen a lot of success with it to date. So let's talk about a few best practices here, right? So we always garbage in, garbage out, right? So you want the best data, you want the correct data for all the inputs, right? So when it comes to everything that we get from Amazon, those are all, of course, accurate based on the fees and costs associated, but we want the right data for your cost of goods shipped, right? So if we get it, if we're working with just an average cost of goods shipped across an entire account, that's fine, but let's make sure that it's the real average and not something that hasn't been defined correctly, and thus will kind of throw off the targeting algorithm. We always recommend you start with the existing margin, right? Because that's what enables us to learn, right? So whatever your margin is now, we understand, where you start is never where you want to finish, right? But we need to start there to kind of understand all the other data points and how they work together, right? And so then what we can do at that point, we see what your margin is today, and then where we see the opportunities where we can increase scale and where we can increase margin, right? And then we start to make decisions. Can we do both of those things at the same time? Do we, is scale kind of plateaued, but we can actually do some things to reduce margin here? Or is the margin too high, and we're going to need to lower that margin a little bit if you really want to get to the top line sales number that you want, and thus the top line revenue target that you want. So these are things to think about. And remember, it's a marathon and not a sprint, right? We're not, we're not going to increase your margin by 10% in the first month. This is something that, we'll see incremental progress to in the first 4 weeks. And then we have a really, really powerful data set. And we can start to, make modifications and recommendations to impact your business in the way that you want as we go forward. And it's certainly it's a long-term, always on feature, right? This is something that, as you guys know, sales change seasonally, demand changes seasonally. And of course, the external pressures of the market change sometimes daily and weekly, right? So this is something that you always want to have on, something that will inform your business and to a large degree, even on a daily basis. So we don't want to, this is, kind of margin-based targeting isn't something you want to turn on and off, but it's something that you want to keep on and then just modify as necessary. And so lastly, what do we need to get started? Right. So essentially just, these, general and admin costs and estimate, if you have it, for other fees, meaning like returns and exchanges, what those generally are for your business and for your products. We get the real-time data from Amazon, but they don't provide any forecasting, of course, in terms of what those typically look like. And then if you're on an FBM model, we need, we need to work with you on what your fulfillment costs are directly. And otherwise, we pull all of this data directly from the Amazon Ads API. And so there's not a lot of heavy lifting for our sellers to do this. So again, we're here to help make sense of your margins, make sense of how your ad spend and the other data points in the marketplace impact those margins, and make recommendations for how we can help improve the business. And all you have to do is reach out. So with that, I'll stop my spiel here, and we'll hold for Q&A, I think, towards the end of the call here for both Yoni and I, and then I'll kick it over to Yoni for a nice introduction here.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead.
And Yoni, I'll drive the slide since I've got it open. So just give me a tip of the cap when you're
All right,
ready.
hopefully, yeah. Hope your fingers are ready.
I got them ready.
Got it. So we're good to go. I'm okay to kick it.
Let's go.
Got it. Okay, so thank you so much, Kanan. Very, very insightful. I like the razor blade, focus on margin profitability, because that's just the name of the game. It's if you're not really knowing what profits you're making, you're just wasting your time. So by knowing what kind of profits you're making now, and what and how much more of it you make in the future, that's the only reason you're really in this business, or any business, unless you're a nonprofit organization, which probably none of you here are part of. So thank you so much for that. All right, so quick introduction to GETIDA. What is GETIDA? How do you say it? It's GETIDA, it's GETIDA. It doesn't really matter. It's just an acronym. It stands for Get IDA, which is Get Intelligent Data Analytics. Essentially, we're a data company, and we consider ourselves the global leader in FBA auditing and reimbursements. Simply put, for the fact that we also operate on a global level. So whether you sell on Amazon US, Canada, Mexico, UK, EU, we got you covered with that solution. Our solution is really making sure that the FBA sellers are getting the maximum FBA reimbursements that they're eligible to receive. We're also an award-winning company. We won the Gold Award with the American Business Award for our dashboard technology. We have a dedicated team of claim specialists. So what happens is we find the problem with FBA in every inventory that maybe got lost or damaged, destroyed, disappeared, disposed, or got overcharged with fees. Our technology catches that. But then we have a team. The team opens up cases with Amazon and manages all the back and forth until there's a resolution. A big part of our team are former Amazon employees who used to work in Amazon in the FBA reimbursements department. We actually track and monitor our recovery rate. So right now it's over 70%, which means for every 10 cases we open on behalf of our users, more than 7 cases get reimbursed. We also are a host of many seller events. We're very active with the seller community. You can just visit getida.com/events to see what's the next event coming. Today, this event is also has been marked on our calendar. So we're very, very proud to be here. And we like to make our solutions affordable for all sellers of any size and at any stage. So you can be a newbie just getting started, or it can be a top 10 seller doing hundreds of millions of dollars. It's free to join GETIDA, and it's free to stay with GETIDA. We only charge a fee based on successful recovery. So if we were able to get you $100 this month in reimbursements, we charge a 25% fee, which will be this month $25. But next month we get you $0, you pay $0. So it's affordable for any sellers at any time. So we're very proud of that. Okay, let's do the next slide, Kanan. If you're wondering where you can find this, of course, you can find this in the Amazon App Store, which means we're an authorized solution provider by Amazon. And we have a double commitment. We have a commitment to you, the seller, but also to Amazon to make sure that we're terms of service compliant, data security, private policy, and so forth. And the next slide you see that we're also available on Amazon SPN. And the next slide will really get started with a few quick announcements here. I believe we have an announcement. Let me see what's the next slide. There we go. Okay, so my slide is gonna my slides will focus more on kind of also profitability and margins, but being attentive to that, there's a quick announcement that Amazon recently made that on January 18, so it's coming very, very soon, basically next month, they're gonna increase the fees, the fulfillment fees. And if you look over there with the arrow, you'll see that from $2.70, it's gonna increase the baseline to $2.92. So kind of across the board, a 10% increase in fulfillment fees with Amazon. So heads up on that, because Kenan was talking about all the shifting of variables of costs. This is one of them. It's coming. Therefore, being very, very fine-tuned into your margins, what's going on is critical. Especially also when you're dealing with ads, it's very, very important that you calibrate your spending in the very, very right place and know how much you should spend. I think that was kind of a huge thing you were mentioning earlier, Kenan. All right, let's do the next slide. Okay, and this is also something that you touched upon, Kenan. This is the global logistics, the cost of global logistics. I believe your slide mentioned that there's a 500% increase. This chart kind of gives an example of that, right? This chart is basically the data from major export cities in Southeast Asia to the most popular Amazon fulfillment centers in the United States. If you want this chart updates every week, you can find it at getida.com/FBAX. See over there, available at getida.com/FBAX. Every week it updates, and you'll be able to see the trends of the cost of container shipping. So the blue one that you see over there is FCL. This is a freight container load. You'll see that it started last year. The beginning of the year started about $7,000. It went all the way up to about $27,000, and now it's kind of cooling off. So this gives you an idea of the inflation and increasing costs of container shipping. But also you got air shipping over there in this chart, and less than a container load. So that's available too for you guys to be able to keep your finger on the pulse of costs of shipping from Asia into major Amazon fulfillment centers. And it's also offered by our friends at Freightos. It's a huge platform for logistics and data. Okay, let's move on to the next one. All right, guys. So this is a quick overview of the name of the game, or the rules of the game, if you like, of FBA auditing, right? I want to give you a quick introduction to the world of Amazon FBA auditing. So in general, Amazon FBA sellers, they take the inventory, they ship it to Amazon's fulfillment center, and then Amazon receives it, and then they're supposed to store it and then fulfill it as the orders come in. And sellers, third-party Amazon sellers, FBA sellers that use this program are able to audit a few functions of these movements of the inventory. And this is the breakdown. So if you're doing inbound shipment in the United States, you have 9 months to get a recovery or audit it. So if you send a shipment of 1,000 units, Amazon only received 190. That's a discrepancy. You have 9 months in the United States to get your money back. But if you're selling in the UK and EU, you got 6 months. So pay attention to that. Any of the inventory that got lost, damaged, or had customer refund issues or FBA removal order issues, for the most part, you have 18 months to go back and get a recovery for that. And then when in dimension overcharges of fees, you have 3 months to do that. And what's that? I'll give you a small example. This is your product. This is less than a pound, less than 10 inches. Amazon is supposed to charge you, based on this when in dimensions, $3. Every time they pick it from the bin, they package it in the box, they ship it out. They're supposed to charge you $3, but the information they have is incorrect. So instead of being less than a pound, it's 100 pounds. And instead of being less than 10 inches, it's 100 inches. So it's inflated, right? You have the incorrect data. Now they're going to charge you $10 per unit. So they're overcharging you $7 every time you sold the unit, right? That can happen. You have 90 days to get a recovery. So we recommend you guys to do it every 90 days, because let's say you did once a year, you did an audit and you found that Amazon overcharged you $100,000 in, when in dimension fulfillment fees or overcharges. And in the past 90 days, they only overcharge you $30,000. That's what you're going to get back, $30,000. The other $70,000 is gone forever. Same thing for the rest of the claims, okay, or the rest of the issues. If you don't do it on time, your eligibility to get that reimbursement is gone. So we do encourage sellers to do as much as they can to audit and get everything that they're owed on time. And of course, this is too much for them, too much of a headache. There's solutions out there that can help. It happens to be the GETIDA with one of them, so we'll be happy to help anybody that needs. Now let's gonna jump into the example of each one in a nutshell, just to give an idea, because this is money in the bag, guys. So if you never audited your Amazon shipments, just go to Amazon Sell Essential, go to the FBA shipments log, and find your shipment. You see over the area number 1 over there. It's kind of small, but you'll be able to see the name of the shipment. And then you see in the shipment in red boxes over there, you see 1,000 units were shipped and only 900 were received. So if you find that in your shipment log, just click on the blue button on the left, and then it will take you to a new page, which is area number 2 in the slide, which is a bit larger. You can see it a bit better. Once again, shipped 1,000 units, located 990 units, discrepancy -10. And then you see status action required. It will give you a drop-down menu, right? So you want to choose this one, missing, please research. And once you do that, it's gonna submit a case, and then it's gonna give you a case ID. That's it. Go to your shipments, find the discrepancy, submit a case, and if, of course, if Amazon cannot find these missing units, they're gonna pay you money. So if you never did this in the past, after this event is done, this webinar is done, Go do this for yourself, reconcile all your shipments. And of course, if they're missing anything and you open a case, they're going to pay you. So hopefully you're going to get paid by attending this webinar and taking your time, which is pretty good and healthy. So take advantage. Kenny, you wanted to say something?
No, sorry, I had to unmute myself. No. I was just nodding my head in agreement.
Got it. Yeah. So that's kind of the first tip there, guys. Take action. Do it. This is money for that's owed to you, and you're eligible to receive it. Go and do it. Now, this is the second example that we mentioned. In this one, you have 18 months to go back. So this is when things become become a bit more complicated. So I just want to explain the logic here. I'm going to explain how it all works and the logic, and you're gonna have to make sense of it. I didn't want to give all these examples in Excel because it's very Excel driven and formula driven, but here's the logic. Okay, guys. For any units that got lost or damaged in Amazon's fulfillment center, you need to download 3 reports, which are 3 databases, right? Separate databases. You got to basically cross-reference. And the first report you're going to download is you see before you submit a claim is in the blue area, it says inventory adjustment report. You download that report. In the report, you're going to find all the entries that has a code that a unit got lost or damaged. So you find all the issues, right? Then you you download a second report called Manage FBA Inventory Report. In that report, you got to see if any of these lost or damaged units got found. Let's say one of the unit got lost in the first report, and the second report, if it got found. If it got found, problem solved. If it did not get found, you move on to the third report. The third report is reimbursement report. And then you find if the transaction for that ASIN or for that FSQ, if it got paid because it got lost, never got found. If it got paid, problem over. If it didn't get paid, still an issue. That's when you can submit a claim. You open a case with Amazon after you did your research, after you did your auditing, and then you open and you present it to them. And of course, they're going to double check. And if they find that everything else is correct, they're just going to pay you a reimbursement. So this is the logic of how it all works. And of course, as you get more volume in sales and transactions, that's when cross-referencing all these reports can get a bit convoluted. But once again, it can be huge. There could be a lot of transactions that have an issue. So you're allowed to go back 18 months. If you never did this before, you're going to be able to go back 18 months, catch a lot of them, and bring them back to your pocket. Once again, if it's too complicated, reach out. There's solutions. We'll be happy to help if needed. It's free. We don't charge anything. It's free to join. Only if we get your money back, you get a recovery. But we do encourage the sellers to do it themselves as much as possible. And after you're done, then we're going to be able to come in and to see if anything else was left behind. We'll be able to catch it for you and bring it back to your pocket. This way, it's really, really valuable because it's it's net new. It's something that you never had before. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. All right, guys. So this is a case study because it's very important that we kind of break down the elements and FBA fees, and it's important for me to show to you and be able to identify what are the champions or the biggest heavyweight champions of FBA fees. So this is a case study of a $5 million seller. How do we know? If you look at orders over there, $219,000. You time it by every 2 weeks, that's $440,000. Time it by 12 months, it's about $5 million. Of course, we have that beautiful blue area where money is coming into your Amazon account. And unfortunately, we got that red area, the red wave where money is coming out of your Amazon account. And you see in that red wave, you have Amazon fees. And a little bit above it, you'll see FBA fees. So for the untrained eye, if I look at FBA fees, you might feel like FBA is not a major thing on my fees. It's not really putting a lot of weight, so I shouldn't really worry about it. But no, I'm here to tell you that inside Amazon fees, there's FBA fees hiding inside of it. How do I know? Let's do a breakdown. You see area number A over there, that's 77,000. It pulls back up into the chart, and you see that FBA fees type A is 43,000. Out of the 77,000, $43,000 is FBA fees type A, which is the fulfillment fees or the pick and pack fees that I mentioned earlier. This is your product. It's a phone cover. Amazon picks your unit from the bin. They package in a box, they ship it out, they charge you a fulfillment fee. This is the heavyweight champion of FBA fees, and it's hiding in Amazon fees, that report, but not in the FBA fees for whatever reason. I don't know, but that's where it's at, and it's very, very important that you recognize that. And after we recognize that that's the heavyweight champion, we'll do some analytics to see what can be done to reduce it and actually make more margin. So let's move on to the next slide. And over here is a quick summary, right? FBA fees type A, this is the pick and pack. It's almost 20%. We got the regular FBA fees, return fees, restocking fees, all that stuff. It's a bit more. So you put it together, it's about 20%. Let's not forget, you got the Amazon selling fees, 15%, much like Kenan mentioned earlier. So you'll see that 35% of all the sellers' revenue are in Amazon fees, which are burning through the margin. If you do $5 million a year, that's $1.75 million. So you need to know what is your number. Identify your number. If it's 35%, whatever percent it is. So whenever you have that percentage, your mission is quite simple. Reduce it. So if you reduce that 35% to 34% or 33% or 30% to 32%, all that savings will go straight into your profit margins, which can be huge. So the best way to do it is start identifying it. But I want to kind of bring it to your attention that this chart is covering kind of my world, which is the FBA fees and all the logistics of things. But let's not forget, I want to throw it back to Caden and Quartile, right? This does not include the PPC spend, because the PPC, you see in the notice in the red box over there, PPC spend adds more into Amazon fees. And that's a whole world of data and analytics that you have to master. And that's when Quartile can really help you master that world. So we live on different universes, GETIDA, Quartile. We're on the same mission, utilizing data in your favor to make sure your costs are reduced, so you make the best margins. So this is kind of I'm covering that world, and Dan really beautifully covered that the ad spend world earlier. So hopefully that's useful for you guys to make that clear, distinguishing. So let's move on to the next slide. So now that we discovered that FBA fulfillment fees are the heavyweight champions, I'm going to give you a simple strategy to deal with it, because I might be stating the obvious, but maybe not, because it's very, very important that we have the awareness. So if we know that the pick and pack fees are the heavyweight champions and they're based on weighted dimensions, what does it tell you, the Amazon seller, to make sure that whatever products and inventory is shipping to FBA, make sure it's packaged smaller, lighter, and smarter. I'm going to give you a small example. You see the gentleman with the ball? Let's say you want to sell a ball on Amazon. You have two options: either send it inflated, and when it's inflated, maybe it's the dimensions are 30 inches, and now Amazon will charge you $10 every time to ship it. But if you deflate the ball, instead of being 30 inches, now it's 5 inches. So now they're going to charge you, let's say, $3 a unit. That can be a huge savings, and that's a simple strategy to set up. And let's say the example underneath, the jeans. You have a pair of jeans. If you send it loose to Amazon, it's rolled up and it's taking 70 inches. They might charge you, they're going to charge you an arm and a leg, a lot of money. But if you roll it together, put it in a shrink wrap, and it's now only 8 inches or something, they're going to charge you much less. So whatever you're sending it to FBA, make sure it's packaged small, light, and very, very smart. And of course, if you're the private label, you're the brand, make sure to work with your factories. You don't need big, heavy boxes, shiny boxes to send to FBA, to Amazon, because it's not like brick and mortar. In brick and mortar, you sell through a big packaging because you're fighting for shelf space. In Amazon, your shelf is your listing. That's your digital shelf. You show your listing very beautifully with all your beautiful content, and the consumer buys it. And once they get it, they want to use it. They don't care if it has a beautiful, big, heavy box. They don't care. And make sure to package it small, light, and elegant, and save a fortune on all these fulfillment fees. Okay. So hopefully that is useful. And now that you have the awareness, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, after you made sure that you were shipping the smallest and lightest product possible to FBA, you got to be on the lookout to make sure that the data doesn't change, because if it does change, they're going to start charging you more. I'm going to give you 2 examples how might this happen. So let's say you're selling a handbag, right? And in the handbag you're shipping to FBA, every few weeks, Amazon takes your product and they scan it through a big machine called cubic scan machine. So if your product is a handbag and now it has a strap with hanging loose, is adding maybe 30 inches. Now when they scan it, that strap is adding 30 inches, they're going to recalculate and it's going to show that your product is much larger in dimensions. They're going to start overcharging you. So it's an honest mistake. That's why you got to be on the lookout and order for this every 90 days. Every 90 days, make sure that there's no changes in the FBA fees and the weight and dimensions. They don't overcharge you. Kenan, you have something that popped up again on your calendar, I think there. But that's the first example. Second example, it's all good. The second example is maybe somebody's actually targeting you. Maybe your competitors want to hurt you. So what they can do is, I can, if you're selling a ball, I'm selling a ball, I can take your ASIN, I can add it to my account. I can change your weight and dimensions, the data. Instead of 10 inches, 100 inches. Instead of 1 ounce, 1,000 ounces. All of a sudden, Amazon will calculate the data, and going forward, they're going to start overcharging you. So that can happen. We've seen it in the past. So, there's a variety of other reasons. So make sure to check the weight and dimensions. And if you got overcharged, open a case to achieve 2 things. The first thing is, moving forward, they stop overcharging you, right? So you got to update the weight and dimensions to tell them to stop overcharging. So you save a lot of money going forward. And also going backwards, you get 90 days worth of recovery. So for the past 90 days, they charge you 10,000 extra in dollars, you get that back. Okay, that's kind of the second point to make. Okay, now let's do the next slide. Okay, here's kind of a package of free tools for you. You guys can take the liberty of using it. Just visit getida.com/ebook. And you're gonna get a package of 3 things. The first thing is an ebook about how to read an Amazon income statement, all the money that's coming in and all the money that's coming out, where is it going to? You should know the numbers. I recommend you maybe to send it to your bookkeeper or your accountant to also know the numbers, because it can be very, very confusing at times. Okay, so this book can help with clarity. The second thing in the package is a profit and loss template. So you can put all your Amazon costs in there, but also all your business costs, parking tickets if you live in New York City, VAT taxes, sales taxes, payroll, whatever it is. You got to know your margin to the penny on the business level. Okay, making sure that you have a good tool for profit and loss. And the third tool is the weight and dimensions tracker. You know, you'll be able to always compare the weight and dimension between what Amazon thinks and what you have in your data and do the comparison. So hopefully you guys will find it useful. Let's do the next slide. Okay, here's another opportunity to recover more value with your inventory. I'm going to make a long story short. You know, unfulfillable inventory. Unfulfillable inventory, you have two options, either to dispose it or do a removal order. Here you have a mathematical example where it does make sense for you to do a removal order and take the product back, inspect it, and put it back in the market. Okay, let's touch the numbers here. You have a unit cost of $2. You see it's over there. The beginning of the story is unit cost $2. Then to remove it from FBA, it costs you maybe 50 cents. And then to inspect it in labor, opening the box, checking if the product is okay, it's brand new, it's mint, it add another $2. And then to resell it, basically repackaging it and send it again to FBA, can add another $2. And then all of a sudden your cost inflated from $2 to $6.50 because you did a removal order. You took the products that are unfulfillable from FBA and had to deal with it, right? So it's $6.50 is your new cost. You put it back in FBA into the market. You sell it for $19.99, $20, right? Your Amazon fees with FBA fees all in is about 32%. In this specific example, and then your net proceeds are $13 minus 13.6. That's your net proceeds. If you take that net proceeds minus your new cost, which is $6.50, your net after cost is $7. So it's more than it's more than 100% ROI, return on investment, if you add these costs. So mathematically speaking, for this seller, with this math, it makes sense for the seller to deal with the headache of dealing with all the unfulfillable inventory. So every seller has different cost structures. I recommend opening an Excel sheet and trying to look for all the cost structures. If mathematically it makes sense for you to take action and deal with the removals, do it. If it's not, you can dispose it. Or the new option that you guys have is, let's do the next slide, is FBA liquidations. This is kind of a new feature Amazon rolled out the last summer. Basically, it gives you the option to liquidate it. Amazon will sell your product. If you see over there with FBA liquidations, we send your inventory to accredited wholesale liquidators, which typically recover about 5 to 10% of the item's average selling price. So if your selling price is $50, they're going to be able to get you back between, I don't know, $2.50 to $5, which is much better than zero. Because if you used to dispose your products, you get nothing. At least you get some of the cost back, and get more value and more margins out of the whole scenario. So that's for you guys to kind of consider. Another point to make here is that it also includes expired inventory. So if you're selling products that tend to expire, like food and snacks, it also includes that, which is, I find it to be very interesting. It's a new program. If you guys want to try it out, stay in touch with me, because I want to really hear from the sellers how's it working really for you guys, if it's working well or not, so I can keep recommending it, or say, you know what, they tried it, was a flop, let's move on. So it's a community approach here. All right, Ken, let's do the next one. Okay, so now I want to give you some more high-level statistics on FBA auditing and refunds and reimbursements. So the first point to make here is that statistically speaking, with GETIDA, we found out that the discrepancy rate on an annual basis can range between 1 to 3%. So if you're doing $1 million on FBA, 1 to 3% could be $10,000 to $30,000 that might be available to you in reimbursements. That is the potential that you guys have. Because Kenan earlier showed you all the structures of the percentage. If you can recover 1 to 3% and add it to your bottom line, that's huge. We're going to touch more on that later. The second point is to make is, like I showed earlier, you have up to 18 months on most issues to get your money back. So do not miss out. And the third point to make is, if you send open cases with Amazon and Amazon replies to you and asking for more documentation, make sure to give it to them. Don't just think you open a case, that's it, your job is over. If Amazon replies and say, I need some more documentation information, read it and reply to them, and that's how you get the job done. Okay, let's do the next slide. Now, if you're wondering, why you might need help with FBA auditing or auditing FBA, this is more things that we look into. So if any of these things look foreign to you, unfamiliar, it probably means that you're leaving money behind. Okay, you're leaving money behind. That's why, we can definitely take some of the tiers of inspecting this away and put money back in your pocket. And I want to give you a case study to kind of show you financially the impact of good auditing. Let's do the next slide. Okay, so this is a case study of an $18 million seller, right? You see over there, yearly revenue is $18 million. Inventory sold during the year is about 300,000 units, of which close to 9,000 units got affected. You see 8,954 units got affected. They got lost, damaged, destroyed, disposed, disappeared, and got overcharged with fees, which put it at 2.8% discrepancy rate. That's kind of the higher end of the spectrum, because we said it's 1 to 3%, and this example is 2.8%. With GETIDA, we're able to recover them $151,000 in reimbursements, which pushed the bottom line by almost 11%. You see, it's 10.92%. That's a profit margin that got raised because of all this money that came back from auditing. How do we know? Because before GETIDA, the profit was 1.38 million, and you see we added another 151,000, which spiked and pushed the bottom line by almost 11%, which is dramatic, right? Now this is a quick case study, but if you look over to the left of the slide, you see there's more impacts if you're trying to sell your Amazon business. And why? Because when you're selling your Amazon business, you're selling your profits, right? And whoever's buying your profits is going to pay you a yearly multiple for that profit. So if your profit, during the year is $1 million, somebody's going to pay you 5 times that, a 5x multiple. They're going to pay you $5 million. So all of a sudden, if we were able to get you $151,000 back into your pocket, and now somebody's buying your business, every dollar is worth $5. So $151,000 is worth $750,000. So before you sell a business, make sure you go back 18 months, get all that value and juice out to your bottom line profit, so you get a better exit. And the same thing goes if you're trying to buy an Amazon business. The aggregators are super smart. When they buy all these businesses, whoever sold it to them, right away they're gonna plug it into our technology. They're gonna go back 18 months and get that 151,000 back to them. You sold it to them. Basically, that's why they're very, very sophisticated on advertising, on sourcing, logistics, and also in auditing. So it depends which side of the coin you are. Take the advantage. If you're selling, make sure you do it on time. If you're buying and whoever sold it to you was not as professional, and you get an advantage. So that's kind of a quick note on that. And let's do the next slide. So if you guys wanted to kind of try us out, we also prepared a special offer for you. If you like to consider, we could get you $400 in free reimbursements. That's a guarantee. And no matter what, we're gonna get you $400, so you can try us out. After $400, if you want to leave us, that's fine. If you want to stay, that's fine as well. You could just use Quartile 400 as a promo code, or just visit getida.com/Quartile. And that's kind of the end of it. I think the next slide will show you our contact information. So yeah, hopefully that was useful. We quickly touched in a nutshell, the world of FBA auditing, what are the impact of fees, and what are the fees, how can avoid them, some strategies, some tools, and some case studies to financially understand the value of everything. And that's it. Hopefully it was useful.
Great. Thanks so much, Yoni. I thought it was super useful and informative, and I think certainly topical. So I know we had a bunch of questions come up for you actually in the chat as you were speaking.
That's what I was hurrying to finish it up so I can address them. I wanted to leave some time for that. So thank you guys for your patience. Yeah.
So Nick or Mike, do you want to start and kind of read those off so that Yoni can answer? Because great.
Yeah, we can go through. So one of the big questions, Yoni, was says Amazon has been denying a lot of inbound cases, claiming the items weren't received, dimensional weight versus actual weight discrepancies, and no option in the drop-down menu to reconcile the missing items. What do you do, if anything, about these cases, and what's your success rate in sort of managing these responses?
Yeah, so I don't know if this all tied together or separate, but let me address each other kind of separately. So dimensional weight, versus actual weight. All you got to do is whoever carrier that you use, to ship your products to Amazon, make sure you get all the documentation and proof from them that you ship your product and what was the total weight. Let's say the total weight was 1,000 pounds. Then you either with a case in writing or call Amazon and see what data they have. If they received $1,000 pounds, of weight, that's how we have $1,000 shipped, $1,000 received. And sorry, $1,000 sent and 1,000 pounds, not dollars, it's the same dollars. 1,000 pounds shipped and 1,000 pounds received on both sides, but missing units are missing. That's an issue with Amazon. That's how you kind of clear the case. If you shipped out 1,000 pounds and Amazon only received 500 pounds, maybe along the way, something got lost. So this is where you got to find out the responsibility between Amazon or maybe the carrier. Because if it's not Amazon, maybe it's a carrier that actually lost your item, so you can open a claim with the carrier. I just want to make sure you understand that might be a possibility. And you mentioned that when you go to the shipment, if you don't see the option to resolve the case or it's stuck, that's fine. Just go to Amazon sales support, open a brand new case. Just take the shipment ID, put it in, and say, this is regarding this shipment ID. I would like to discuss it. So I know because you're used to going to the shipment and try to open a case through the module, right? But if the module is not working, it's broken for some reason, don't worry. Just go to Amazon sales support, put the shipment ID and talk to them about it. They'll be able to help you with that. So hopefully that's useful. Again, Kim was asking if, yeah, go ahead.
I would say another question that came up in there was, given the average Amazon seller account, what do you guys usually see in sort of like returns and profit? I mean, like how,
Reimbursements?
yeah, how good or bad is Amazon at actually getting those reimbursements for an
Amazon
average
is
seller?
very, very good at getting reimbursements as long as they can understand the data. Amazon's like a court. So if your evidence is very, very good, the court will grant you what you want. If you're just opening cases without researching properly and the data is scrambled, they don't even understand what you want from them. They're just going to reject it and close your case and not going to give you what you need. That's why you should, hopefully this presentation was kind of helpful for you to understand some of the logic, right? So you can do well, research, your research well. So hopefully it's useful. And Amazon, it's much more targeted. It's almost like advertising. It's the keyword. If you're just shooting it all over and you're spending a lot of money, you're not going to get many results. But if you go hone on to the keywords and the data points that really work, and you hone on it, you'll get results. Same thing with auditing. It's mathematics. If your mathematics doesn't make sense, it's all over the place, you're not going to get any solution. But if it's very, very accurate and you can show them a -1 here, guys, this is a -1 and this is the reason why, they look at it, they say, yep, we got it. That's it. It helps out. So do as much as you can on your own. Be very attentive to the details. Make sure all the mathematics works. That should be perfectly fine. Do as much as you can. When you're done, I do recommend reach out to solutions out there. We're one of them. We can come in and whatever left behind, whatever you got rejected, but you're still eligible to receive, we're going to be able to pick up on that and bring it back to your pocket. And only if we're successful, we're going to charge you. If we're not successful, that's our time, it's our money, and you don't have any kind of risk over, with that.
Okay. I think we got through those questions there, and then we'll share the deck and the video for this after the call to everybody who registered. So for all the people that were asking about that, not a problem there. And then last question was actually that's it.
I think we got them all.
Yeah.
All right, guys. And so I think we did have one question in the chat that Nick resolved for anybody still hanging on. Margin-based targeting is live. If you're a current Quartile customer, just get in touch with your account manager and we're happy to walk you through activation. And then, of course, for any folks who are not currently customers but are interested, feel free to email me, Kanan@quartile.com, or just as you see on the screen here, sales@quartile.com. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
guys.